I have to wear a jacket indoors. There's a curry stain on my shoulder. I don't want people to see it. Mm. Oh, hello there. There's nobody there, but I'm just talking to myself. There is a curry stain on my shoulder, though. Welcome back to Cinema Flicks Music Picks. I'm Davey, your host with the most, the beast with the least. Well, there's nothing the least about this evening, for we shall be looking at the brand new release from Tigers of Pan Tang. There we go. Tigers of Pan Tang's Bloodlines. And in case you can't tell, they are sticking with the old tiger imagery. And yeah, there's a little bit of sheen there, isn't there? Don't worry, ladies and gents, because the edition I bought direct from the band comes with a sticker. Yeah, so I can put that in my school jotter, something. But it also came with, I thought, well, that's nice, an art card, you know. And then I turned over, it's signed by the whole band. Isn't that lovely? Isn't that lovely? Um, but nice if they signed on the front of something rather than a white bit of paper. But regardless, so a sticker, signed thing, and it was still just the price of the CD. This is what you get when you order direct, folks. So first album since what was it? 2019 was the last one. I want to say 2019, when Ritual came out. So we've had half a dozen records since the reunion, if you will, when Rob Weir put the band back together. Started all over again, basically with the same name, but they always kept true to their ideals and the ideology of the band. There's a couple of changes since the last record, since Ritual. And do you know when I hear people say it's their first in 4 years, about any releases these days, or first in 5 years, I think we did have a 2 year pandemic, for Christ's sake. I think you can be a little bit more lenient. You can't expect everybody churning things out. And paces are slow these days anyway, aren't they, for people releasing things? You know, the album every 9 months is very much a thing of the past when it comes to physical releases. But regardless, so Gavin Gray and Mickey Crystal out. See you later. Bye bye. Hugh Holding is in on bass, and he just played with Avenger, Holsade, and Blitzkrieg. So very much someone who you can imagine would fit in very well with Tigers of Pan Tang. Um, of course, everybody that ever reviews any of the modern stuff always references where they started. The Crazy Nights album cover with the that who did it? Was it Rodney? Was Rodney, wasn't Rodney Matthews' album cover of the kind of King Kongish iconography with the tiger up there being shot down. And obviously John Sykes was in the band back then before joining. Can't remember who, but yeah, that was Jess Cox was in there in the very early days before having a solo career, and he also ran the revived Neat Records. Shout out to our neat friend Nick Usofian with the neat logo. He loves that film. He was talking about that quite a lot the other day on his Venom video. So Nick, just to show you, I watched it. The album itself is 10 tracks and it's 44 minutes. It's exactly what you want. It doesn't outstay its welcome. There's no epics. There's no filler. There's no 20-second tracks that have been separated just to get an extra track on Spotify with an extra tiny micro penny royalty. There's no, oh, let's try something a bit different and do a 16-minute epic. Nothing like that whatsoever. It's 10 tracks from a heavy metal band from the new wave of British heavy metal, who are still making great music. And we'll talk about how great as this goes on. So Edge of the World is a really cool melodic opener. It's cool. A really kind of Middle Eastern vibe to it when it starts in, smolders in really. And then you think, that's a bit weird. The Tigers doing a kind of there we go. Just okay. That'll do. That'll do. At this point, I should probably mention the actual lineup we've got in here, shouldn't I? Instead of just saying who's left and who's in. So, of course, we have Rob Weir on guitars. We have Craig Ellis on drums, who's a powerhouse. Jack is Jack Mealy. Meal. I'm going to go with Mealy because it reminds me of Georges Mealy, the silent filmmaker, on lead vocals. He's been there for 20 odd years now, hasn't he? And the newbies in town, Francesco Maras is on guitars and backing vocals because it's always a dual guitar band, and Hugh Holding, as I said, on bass. So yeah, a couple of newbies here, and believe me, they fit in. Francesco and Hugh, yeah, believe me, you're not gonna be paying for the fjords, to quote the dead parrot sketch from Monty Python. So Edge of the World kicks off with that great opener that kind of gives you the vault face of being, oh, it's going to be a slow one. Have they tried something different? Oh no, they're still doing something very much in their mold. I can't get this back in. Oh, blimey. Insert pun here. Oh, there we go. In My Blood, very catchy, ridiculously so. In my blood, da, 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 and it's got very high pitched kind of harmony vocal going alongside, really high pitched. I was listening to it in the headphones earlier, and I was like, "Crikey, that's a bit much in places." But it's really fun, very old school. It could be an album track on a NWOBM band from 1981 or 82, probably the tail end of original NWOBM. There's a line on it where it's singing about going down endless pathways. Now, down endless pathways sounds lovely. The way he sings it, I had to check the lyrics in the booklet. I swear I thought he said Don Henley's Pathways. What's Don Henley got to do with it? Why are you singing about the Eagles? You're the Tigers. Down endless pathways. I was like, right, down endless pathways. That makes more sense now you think of it. Yeah, cool stuff though. I mean, then you go into a total banger. This is the kind of thing that fans are really going to want. Fire on the Horizon. I believe it was the advanced single. They still call them singles, even though it's just the track they stick on YouTube 3 months before. Total banger, fast as hell. Very much. If Budgie were in a NWOBM band, that's kind of what you'd get. Shredding all over the place. It's pretty fantastic stuff. Pretty fantastic. The Light of Hope comes up next. That's more melodic stuff. So although, yeah, we're getting a lot of hard rock and metallic stuff here, there's a lot of melodic stuff coming in as well. A little bit like, and people always turn their noses up thinking of just the 80s material, a bit like Europe, even vocally at times. There's Jack sounds a bit like what's his face from Europe. So yeah, I can hear a little bit of that more melodic rock creeping in, but very much still a hard rock album with metallic edges. Back for Good is Hugh on bass. This is his. Hello, I'm in the band now. This is his track. He gets to do the full bass intro with the boom, 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 boom. And the whole thing at the start is done with this riff that Jack sings along with, or kind of hums along with, kind of, he's singing the melody lines, he's humming the melody lines. Very kind of Black Label Society like track. It's got that kind of thing going on. Riffs galore. Jack on this, on a couple of the previous albums, not so much the last couple since the self-titled in 2016, but certainly since he joined the band, he's done a lot of screeching and a lot of Robert Plant type stuff and Gillan type stuff. There's a few places here where I could hear Gillan, him very much doing his Gillan thing, but it's fantastic. Back for Good's maybe my favorite track on the record. Just check that one out. Phenomenal stuff. If you like Tigers, I think you're just going to love Back for Good. It's the most modern sounding track on this in a good way. In a good way, it's the modern sound of a classic band, if that makes sense. The way you like a legacy band to present themselves, not too dated, but also not trying to pretend that they're 25 years old. Taste of Love is very much your power ballad. Is very much to get the lighters out. But what's really cool about it is that we have Francesco on here, our new guitar player, and it's the power ballad where I think he gets to show his chops the most, really. He's doing a very Gary Moore thing. Gary Moore, I always thought, could do slow songs just beautifully, and Francesco's playing on it was just absolutely stunning. It does have a kind of Gary Moore Empty Rooms vibe to some of his playing at the start. Yeah, some wonderful stuff on Taste of Love. So don't let the power ballad. Don't go thinking, is this love or something by that band? I can never remember the name of it. It's not that kind of power ballad. It's more, I don't want to be misogynistic and say it sounds like a guy's version of a power ballad, but I think you know what I mean by that. It just happens to be a more ballady thing, but it's not full power ballad. They've not turned into, I don't know, mid-80s foreigner or something, don't worry. Yeah. Yeah. I've given myself the dry heave there. I mean, even on the power ballads, it's got that kind of double pedal beat of later Motorhead, where Motorhead slowed down a little bit. I mean, they were still mid-tempo too fast, but they slowed down a bit by Motorhead standards, certainly. It's fantastic stuff. But that kind of kicks in later with some really amazing guitar solos throughout. But Taste of Love in particular has got some beautiful sustained stuff on it. Kiss the Sky, in the eye of the storm. It's got some really catchy vocals. It's one of those ones where you're going to be singing it 5 minutes after you first hear it. You're going to be that and In My Blood and Back for Good are the three tracks that I think will stick with you fastest. They're very much the earworms. I mean, Kiss the Sky, super infectious, amazing guitar solo. And while they're doing the whole in the eye of the storm, the cowbells clattering away. I could have used a little bit more cowbell or tiger bell, I guess, in this case. Tiger Bell was a cross between Tiger Lily and Tinkerbell, kind of Peter Pan mashup. Tangents I go on, absolute nonsense. I don't want anybody watches this crap. Believe, I did say there was no filler on it, and I'll stand by that. But Believe is the most obvious piece of this is a good song. This is a song that says we're a band who came up through the new wave of British heavy metal, and it's the kind of song that we can put in an album and probably not play at a live show. It's got that kind of vibe to it. It's just, it's there. It's a segue track. It's almost like an intentional. Okay, we don't want to put 10 bangers on there because the pace will be too frenetic and the quality will be too, we can't beat it then. So I'm not saying it's bad by any stretch of the imagination, but it's as close as this record gets to filler, and that's saying something because it's still a bloody good track. A New Heartbeat. They released an EP last year, which was very much a welcome to the new guys in the band. And what they did in that EP was they recorded a couple of new tracks, including A New Heartbeat. And also from Wildcat, the debut from way back in 1980, we recorded Fire Clown and Killers. Killers, people think Iron Maiden, but the Tigers, they had Killers. So two tracks from the debut, almost like Francesco can do the classic stuff. Don't worry, we know we've got another new guitar player, but look, he's doing two classics. It's almost like don't worry about next year's album. It's all going to be fine. Here's your proof. And so it starts. A New Heartbeat. It was great track on the EP. It's not quite the same version here. It's been beefed up a little bit in places. It's certainly a different mix. I compared them, and it's not this. It's not the. It's not a different performance, but it's certainly a different mix. Because the vocal was the same. So I think they've just gone back in and tried to make it part of the album more than part of the EP as well. So to make it more cohesive with the rest of the record. The real outlier here is the last track, Making the Rules. It's like a protest song. It's very much like the Bob Dylan song "Only a Pawn in Their Game" about the murder of Edgar Evers in the 60s. It's got that kind of vibe where it's saying, no, you don't blame the perpetrators, you blame societies that make perpetrators. So it's about kids that grow up too soon and get into guns and get into drugs. But it says, look, they're products of the society that made them. So don't blame them, blame the ones that are making all the rules. That's literally the name of the song. It's a little bit clunky lyrically. It's a little bit clunky. I don't think this is the kind of thing people will expect from Tigers, but that's fine. Push the boundaries, especially on your last track. You might as well. And by this point, after 9 tracks, they've built up so much goodwill that I don't think they put anybody off with it. Because it's still got a wonderful guitar solo on it, which really captures the anger and the bitterness and sadness of lost generations, especially when you're seeing some of the just horrible things every time you turn on the news. It's just horrible stories. It's just, gosh, I kind of miss the days where the last feature on the news would be about a cat stuck up a tree or something, or a Boy Scout that happened to raise a particularly high amount of money for some charity or something. No, it's just non-stop misery. So it kind of is a state of the world song from a band that you don't really expect to be doing state of the world addresses. But again, it's a brilliant tune with a fantastic guitar solo and brilliant vocals, and it's angry as hell. This album I always think it's churlish to compare to real classic periods, but this one in particular, compared it to Ambush from about a decade ago, compared it to the self-titled from 2016, I want to say, compared it to Ritual from 2019, it's up there with any of them, and frankly, it might be the best of them. I don't want to be hyperbolic and say it's the best thing they've ever done. Put one of those awful descriptions on here. Tygers of Pan Tang, Bloodline review. Is it their best album? Click here. Nonsense. Take it for what it is, not for It doesn't need to compete with who they were, who the band were 43 years ago. Especially because there's only one guy who was in the bloody band 43 years ago. But for what this is brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. So I don't do scores in the channel, but if I had to, I'd give it 9 ferocious roars out of 10. Yeah. And kudos to them for all these years. They've still got the tiger motif, which they never drop. Sometimes it's a little bit more cartoony. Sometimes it's a little bit more fantasy based. Sometimes it's more CG. Sometimes it's an actual tiger being photographed. But kudos to them for sticking with the iconography. How many bands have we seen ditch it halfway and then completely change? We're like, yes, after all those years, coming up with new logos and things, you're like, bloody hell. Who taught you guys about branding, eh? Anyways, there's your fix of new wave of British heavy metal nostalgia for this weather. This is recommended super highly. I think you'll probably know if you want it already based on who they are. The fact that I'm telling you it sounds like classic periods, and I'll stick a couple of tracks below for you to listen to as always. So yeah. So, as always, folks, thank you very much. Thank you very much indeed for your time, your patience, and for putting up with my absolute gibberish. So, until I see you, the problem is that I think there's still another couple of things I'm waiting on for this weekend. there's one I've already taped. A couple of new music reviews, definitely, anyway. Anyway, until then, though, if I don't see you through the weekend, I'll see you through the window. Stay very safe out there. And as usual, love and mercy, my dears. Love and indeed.